Regardless of the market, there are 5 mistakes that every seller should avoid making so they can maximize the potential for their house. Hey everyone, Elias Acuna here at HeSellsHouses. So whether it's a buyer's or a seller's market, there are always things that you should avoid doing so that you can actually maximize the potential of your house. And now these days we're actually dealing with a seller's market, a pretty strong seller's market at that. But still, there are 5 mistakes that you need to avoid that I still see sellers actually make. Mistake number 1 that we still see happen: not preparing the house. So even though there's a lot of competition out there and it's fairly easy to find a buyer, you still need to prepare your house so that you can maximize its actual potential. Buyers out there are looking at photos of your property, the online presence, and if they're not attracted to what they're seeing online, they're actually not going to come out there and take a look at your home. And in order to maximize the amount that you're getting for the house, you really would like to be in a multiple offer situation. And if you have tons of offers and tons of activity, that's really going to help bring that price up when it comes to the actual offers. And in order to do that, again, you really need to prep your house properly. Now, when we talk about prepping your house, there's a few things that you can actually do here. Minor maintenance throughout the property, perhaps touch-ups on paint, some light staging. And when we talk about staging, certainly you need to declutter. You want to organize the space so it's easy to walk through it. And closets as well, that's another big thing. We usually recommend that you reduce the stuff in your closets to about 2/3. If a buyer comes along and is going through your property and they see that your storage spaces are exploding with stuff and there's no space to add more things, they're going to get concerned about storage. And so you definitely want to organize the space, again, so that gives the opportunity for the buyers to really see the potential that's there. Another thing with preparing the house is for those photos online. Again, light staging, removing items, clearing your countertops, removing personal items from the property like family photos and stuff like that. Again, so that you can show the property in its best light and the buyers can actually imagine themselves in the home. Mistake number 2 that we see: staying home for the showings. Well, when buyers are coming through your property, they really want to go ahead and imagine themselves in the home. And they want to be able to take the time to go through it with their agent, talk about different ideas, and really be open about their opinion. And now if a seller's there, sometimes that can kind of make the buyer feel uncomfortable because they feel like they can't freely express themselves to their agent and ask certain questions. So we typically recommend that the seller is not there for the actual showings. And these days, with trying to reduce the number of people coming into a property, a lot of times we want to go ahead and do some sort of open house setting or scheduled appointments throughout the day so that the seller don't need to be coming in and out of the property all the time. But certainly, if you can avoid being there for the showings, that is definitely the best scenario. Now, some sellers may be thinking, well, what if the buyers have questions? Well, that's what the agents are there for. They can go ahead and ask those questions of their agent. Your listing agent should be available to answer questions of the buyer's agent if they have any questions there. Or if you have any particular things that you want to feature to the buyer, you can always have a spec sheet at the property or other information available at the home so that things aren't actually missed. Mistake number 3 that we see: sharing too much information online. Nowadays with social media, we're all pretty much connected. So don't think that you won't have any type of connection to the person that's actually buying your house. So I've seen this mistake before: sellers posting too much information about themselves or their property really online when they go to sell. Hey, I'm looking for this specific amount. If I only get this amount for my house, I'm gonna sell right away. If somebody's out there and knows you, or if that post is then shared and somebody who's seeing that post down the road, they're gonna see that information, and that may not necessarily put you in the best position when you've got an agent trying to negotiate on your behalf. So please be careful about what it is that you're posting online when it comes to the details of the sale of your house. Yeah, even in the scenario where you get an accepted offer, you really want to avoid posting online what you got that accepted offer for, especially if you were in a multiple offer situation, because now if that deal falls apart and it comes back on, buyers know what that amount is, and you lose an opportunity to perhaps even get more if there's continued negotiations if it come back on the market. The fourth mistake that we see sellers make: overpricing. Even though we are in a strong seller's market these days, some sellers can still make this mistake of overpricing their property. Competition and lots of interest, typically increases those offers. So if you've priced your property to the point where no one's even coming to take a look at it, or you've overpriced it to the point where buyers aren't going to be interested, you'll lose that opportunity of competition, right? Now, if you price your property properly, you should receive a lot of interest in that home, and depending on the area, you may receive tons and tons of offers. Now, the market is going to go ahead and determine what your house is actually worth at that point. If you go ahead and overprice your property, you risk being in a situation where your house is going to sit there a little bit longer, and then maybe you have to do a price reduction down the road in order to trigger some actual activity on the home. We do see some scenarios where, having priced the house properly, you may have actually gotten more on that house because there's lots of interest with the newness of the house. Once it's been sitting there for a while and the house starts having to do some sort of price reduction, you don't typically end up in a situation where buyers are outbidding each other to get it. And finally, the fifth mistake that we still see sellers make is choosing an agent that doesn't have access to knowledge. Now, when they say that, I'm not necessarily meaning that you need to have an agent that has decades worth of experience, though that's a good thing. You want to make sure that you're working with an agent that has access to knowledge, and not only that has access to knowledge, but knows how to utilize that information that they have access to. Now, there's no one book that explains how all real estate transactions work. There's a lot of many different variables that can change, so every deal is different. And unless an agent has access to knowledge, whether it's through their own experience, through other agents in their office, or a good broker that can guide them through the process, if you're working with them, you may be putting yourself in a bad position. An agent that has access to good knowledge is going to be able to guide you through a ton of different scenarios. And again, especially if we're dealing with such a strong seller's market these days, if you're in a position where you've got lots of offers to choose from, you could very easily make the wrong mistake and choose the wrong offer and put yourself in a bad position. So again, you want to make sure you have an agent that has access to knowledge. All right, so those are the 5 mistakes. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of your way in case you wanna read my horrible handwriting here. As always, hopefully you guys found this information valuable. If you have any additional questions, you can feel free to reach out to me anytime. My website, HeSellsHouses.com, or you can text me 413-626-4097, and hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day.